And we are live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Premier Sim Gaming League YouTube channel, and welcome along back to another edition of Social Race Action here in PSGL. We're live in the Styrian Hills of Austria in the Red Bull Ring, and this is the Austrian Grand Prix Social Race, and here we are. All of the drivers about ready on the grid. I believe, unfortunately, Nardi was not able to get in due to connection issues. PSN having a little bit of troubles. But my name is VSR Clark, and thank you so much for joining us live right now on the YouTube page. And I am joined today by CES Phoenix in the co-commentators booth. Phoenix, great to have you here, and let's get ready for short qualifying action. 18 minutes of non-stop action. Drivers will have to set as many lap times as they possibly can and see if they can capture pole position here today. We have a wide range of talents here, some of the greatest drivers in PSGL history, and some other drivers looking to upset the lot. And we'll see how they do today, as we're running on board of Benjamin right there, who just passes his teammate in the AlphaTauri. That would be Midnight.
Yeah, good evening to everyone as well. It's definitely going to be an interesting one tonight, as you know, we've got the PSGL champion, which is obviously Wilson here, and we've got, as you said, a wide range of abilities, so it's going to be definitely different as well, to see different strategies as well. Obviously we don't know the race weather at the moment, but it's going to be an eventful night, and it's also going to be a fun night as well.
And Benjamin is about to start off his lap here in the Red Bull Ring. Few other drivers ahead of him as well, and I believe it's one of the Red Bulls, but nonetheless, here we go, our first lap. I'm going to ride on board with Benjamin in the AlphaTauri, and let's go through the lap using the curves coming into the entry point of turn 1, and oof, a lot of slide from the car there. Let's bring up the lap data and the track map. The lap is still valid despite going a little bit wide out of turn 1, but now up the hill towards turn number 4 here. There's a little bit of a kink right there, and again, very wide, missing the apex a little bit there, braking a little bit too late. Now another DRS straight. This time it's downhill coming towards the end of sector 2 as he clips as much of the curb right there, again slowing the car down, hitting the apex rather nicely. Very easy back on the power. World Rally, meanwhile, has actually crashed out of this qualifying session, so he's not going to be setting a lap time here today. And through these left-hand turns right here, and then this little chicane, and oh, Benjamin has an off, and he clips the curb on our lap right there, and he was going through the chicane in sector 3, and he had a little bit of a moment, and that could have been disaster for this qualifying session for him. Meanwhile, the times are flying in. Wilson Hughes in the McLaren, he's gone up a 102.966, and that's beaten by Midnight by about a tenth of a second. VRT Karam has come in third spot, and let's see if we can catch any more of the times here. Cherry Tupai has invalidated this previous lap he was setting, and the times are just coming in. Benjamin does set a time, but it's a very slow 1:15.7, as we might expect from the man who was not able to complete most of his lap. Bajoran right here, let's ride on board of him in the Alfa Romeo, and let's see what time he can set here as he's coming through the penultimate turn here in the Red Bull Ring. Now the final turn, and times are flying in. Tim Wentic has gone third fastest, and Bajoran is going to go sixth fastest, and the times are just flying in right now. Midnight is still fastest at the moment. Killacry has gone 7th fastest. TGG Hadler has gone 5th fastest, and we're just waiting to see if we have any other drivers we can catch in with. Duncan is on a lap right now, but he might get held up a little bit here. Fabi is ahead of him, and I believe he is, I can't tell if he's really slowing up yet or not, but it looks like he is. Nope, he is trying to get out of the slipstream of Fabi, so problems there for the VSR driver right there as he comes into the pit lane. But Phoenix, we have our first set of times on the board. Midnight currently fastest of them all, and as we have just under about 14 minutes left in this qualifying session. Meanwhile, Lars Kramer is second fastest now. Karam down to third, Wilson down to fourth.
Yeah, it's definitely been a few interesting laps. Obviously, Wilson set his on the medium, so we know he can go a little bit quicker. The other noticeable ones is Baba O'Reilly, which, as the commentator, he set a 1:24 on the softs. Obviously, he must have had a little bit of an incident on the track. Just going back to the Benjamin, I think he may have just clipped the curb coming out of the corner there. I don't quite know what happened, but it did look like the incident was with the curb. But still, quick lap times coming in with Midnight taking the provisional pole, as Benjamin has had a bit of an incident, I think, and spun. But at the moment, it's still all to play for.
And Martin was fastest in the first sector, and he's just coming out of the second sector now. That is Ecos Martin, as he does not go fastest in the second sector. Looking to be a pretty solid lap so far, as he's about to come through the penultimate turn right there, flying that Alpine car through the penultimate turn. A little bit of a wobble from the rear end as he just keeps within track. No, he didn't. A little wide out of the exit, and that's going to be an invalid lap for Martin. And you have to be very careful. Austria is a very track limits heavy circuit. There's a lot of areas where you can extend track limits and gain yourself a penalty. Expect a few of them in this race, even from some of our top talent here. Casper 24 right here is coming into the end of Sector 2, and we're going to ride on board of him. He's in that beautiful British Racing Green Aston Martin, as many world over have wanted to race in their personal leagues, and we'll see how Casper gets along here in the Aston Martin himself, as he's coming at the end of the second sector and has gone fastest in the second sector. So we're flying right now, as camera angle is not doing too much justice for us. And oh, he has a problem with the Haas, and he's off the wall, and he's crashed. And was that Bob O'Reilly? It was the commentator Luke Etheridge, who was not too used to racing on the game. And that's a crash for Casper, as he was coming through the penultimate turn. Bob O'Reilly sitting there on the apex of the corner, and Casper has crashed, and he's out of this qualifying session. That was a massive accident for the Aston Martin driver, but he's going to be starting way down the rest of the pack. A massive, massive crash there at the end of the lap for him.
Yeah, definitely a big accident that he probably didn't need in qualifying, as he probably felt he could have been the top 10. Did Bubba O'Reilly know he was that close? It's an interesting one, I think, but he's just going to have to get his head down now and just focus on the race, and hopefully it does go well for him. But that's the beauty of racing, and sometimes it does hit you hard when you least expect it.
And Wilson Hughes, meanwhile, solidifies himself in that pole position slot. He's gone about 0.3 of a second faster than Midnight. Meanwhile, Xander, sitting in third position at the moment, is looking to improve his time. We're going to ride on board here in the Mercedes car, as he's about to come towards the end of Sector 2, coming through the first of those right-handers, the second one ending off the sector, and he is a little bit slower, actually. So he is not going to be improving on this particular lap. He'll probably be coming to the pit lane. And let's see here. Karam there is faster by about 0.04 of a second on this particular lap. He's sitting fifth fastest, just a position off of his teammate. That is Lars Kramer, who is splitting the two Mercedes cars, and we'll see if he can improve here in the second sector and get a little bit closer to his teammate, or maybe out-qualify his teammate at the moment. The times and these splits are so very close, just 2 seconds separating most of the pack. Bob O'Reilly a little bit slower, and oh, that was a big track extension. Somehow Karam got away with it, and he's about to come towards the end of the third sector. We're going to see here whether or not it's going to be enough of an improvement. There's a yellow flag in the third sector, and as he's slowing up here, I'm not too sure what was the problem there, but nonetheless, he's coming through the final turn, keeps it in track limits. Karam's going to come across the line, but it is going to be quite slow. It's going to be a 1:04.360, so not a great second or third sector for him, and he's going to have to try again, or going to go back into the pit lane. There's just about 9 minutes left to go in the session, and a few drivers have dropped positions here. Tim Wentig now all the way down in 8th position. CRG Benjamin is still about a great time, sitting down in 12th. It's a 1:03.306. This is a actual valid time for Benjamin, but it's still not been very competitive for him, only ahead of Bob O'Reilly. We still have a few drivers without times here in the session at the moment.
Yeah, obviously Benjamin, as we know, is a very fast driver, as we've seen in PSGL. He's probably just letting the track clear a little bit, so he doesn't obviously have that spin again. The one noticeable at the moment is VSR Duncan. He hasn't come out the pits yet. He may be going for that one run on the tyres. He may not want to use as much of the soft compound as maybe as the others. but it's still very competitive as we head into the last 8 minutes of this fantastic qualifying in PSGL.
And Martin, he has gone fastest in the second sector, so he's on a roll again here, seeing if he can set a valid one this time, keeping it within track limits on this occasion. He's going to come across the line, and he's going to go late fastest ahead of Tim Wentic, and he's ahead of his teammate, Kilcry, 35, from the MNT team. So the Alpines are looking strong. Martin has put himself within the top 10 and actually bumped his teammate outside of the top 10. CC Brain is splitting up the entire pack of 20 here in qualifying so far. Duncan is coming out of the coming towards the end of his outlap and will be looking to actually set a time here in the session, because at the moment he doesn't have anything. Meanwhile, let's ride on board of CRG Midnight. He's just passing the Alpine there of it looked to be Kilcry, I'm not too sure, but nonetheless, he is coming towards the end of the second sector here. He just has those two left-handers to navigate here. Let's see if he's going to find himself a bit of improvement and put himself up into pole position territory. Faster by about a 1/10 of a second here, and he's fastest in the second sector. So Midnight looking strong right now. Is it enough, though? It's about 4/10 of a second, or about 3/10 of a second, to improve his time and put himself on pole position, but he'd like to get a little bit closer. Coming, oh no, across the line, just extending the track limits out of the final turn exit, and that is not going to be smooth sailing for Midnight. He stays second fastest for the moment. Meanwhile, riding on board of Duncan here, he's finally been able to put himself in the contention for a competitive time here. Let's see if it is in fact a competitive time. Coming into the the left-hander right there, and now the second left, and let's see what the Sector 2 split is, and it's going to be a fastest Sector 2 split for Duncan. So hello Duncan, welcome to the lobby, showing yourself up a little bit here, and he's ready to put himself a little further ahead in the grid, and he's 17 fastest at the moment, coming into the penultimate turn, now the final turn, keeping it just within track limits. Duncan across the line in the Red Bull, and he's only going to go 15 fastest, so quite a weak third sector for him. He looked like he had maybe gone a little slow in the penultimate turn there, but that lost him a load of time. And in this kind of lobby, with this kind of talent, those little mistakes and moments can cost you all the time in the world. But finally, Duncan has a time, but it's not very competitive, sitting down in 15th position. One of the only drivers not to set a time right now, Nathan and Trappy Formula, though Trappy Formula is not going to be setting one on this occasion. Another invalidation, I would presume. Still sitting in 20th position. Meanwhile, Wilson Hughes has improved in the first sector and the second sector at this point. Fastest again on track. He is looking extremely impressive so far in the session. He's about to come into that penultimate turn. Wilson Hughes, he's not going to be on PS anymore, but he's still looking to shine here in the social race. He's going to come across the line here, and what's the time going to be with 5 minutes remaining? Another improvement, a 102.432. And is this just hunting season for Wilson right now? He's on an absolute roll. Fastest lap after fastest lap after fastest lap. Can you stop this machine that is Wilson Hughes, a two-time PSGL F1 World Champion? And though he won't be defending it this season, he is in fact the defending PSGL World Champion of Season 28 last season, where he had an amazing battle with Duncan and ultimately did capture the prize.
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting qualifying so far, as obviously we go into the last 5 minutes. Obviously, we don't know if Duncan was pushing in the final sector. He may feel disappointed. Just a quick mention as well, Xander is on the mediums, which he set his 1 minute to 8 on, so he possibly feels he can go quicker if he went on the softs, or is he keeping the softs for the race? Obviously, we will find that out in the race. But Duncan has switched to the mediums, so maybe he might feel a bit comfortable on the mediums as we ride on board with MMT Nathan as he starts his flying lap. He's got a few cars in front of him. Trappy Formula has gone back into the pits with 3 minutes and 40 seconds on the clock, as Nathan now comes into the DRS into turn 4. As we have seen in many F1 races, a few incidents have occurred here, but hopefully none happen tonight, as he is on the soft compound tyre, the faster of the F1 Pirelli tyres, as he comes into the double left-hander. Let's see if he is going to get a fastest. As he goes purple, he has a little bit of a wiggle with the car, and a little bit of understeer. He's going to come to the last 2 corners, which is the right, I think. Yep. So he's just going to come in. He's not going to invalidate. And where's he going to go? And he's going to go into 5th place on the grid. So fantastic lap from the MNT driver.
Yep, Nathan putting himself at a comfortable P5, quite a lot closer to his teammate than he has been in most of the session. There's now just under 3 minutes left to go in the session, and I don't know if Nathan's going for it again, but he just went fastest again in the first sector. So maybe he wasn't too happy with that lap, thinks he can go quicker. So we'll see if he can, in fact, improve his time. Meanwhile, as you said, Duncan is out on the medium compound tire. So can he comfortably get into the top 10 on this tire? So far, he's only 16th on the grid. He has had troubles on the softs. Maybe he can find his pace on the medium tires. If he can put himself in the top 10, he might find himself a crafty strategy on those medium compound tires ahead of the rest, who are mostly on softs. Most of the best times in the session so far have been set on the soft compound tire. Just about 2 drivers on the medium tires. Wilson is coming out of the pit lane. Let's ride on board of Nathan again. This time it's an invalid lap, but I just want to see here. It would have been a 102.908, and that would have been faster, and actually it would have put him into 4th position on the grid. So he would have gone just a little bit ahead of Benjamin, who was sitting there in 4th spot. And we have a bit of a spin from somebody. I'm not too sure. I believe it was one of the AlphaTauri drivers, if I'm not mistaken. But nonetheless, here is Benjamin on a lap. Let's ride on board of him. He has gone a little slower in the first sector by about 0.06 of a second. So not looking too strong so far in this particular lap, but still a lot of it left to go. So we'll see how he can get along. Let's ride on board with him, and let's bring up the telemetry right there so you can see exactly what's going on inside the car as Benjamin is coming into the double left-handers towards the end of the sector and missing the apex quite a bit there on the first one, coming into the second one. And he has gone fastest, though, in the second sector, and he just keeps it off the track enough so he doesn't get that invalidation. If he had come on a bit sooner, it probably would have given him a red lap at the moment, but he's coming through the final turn. Fastest in the second sector, comes across the line. Benjamin goes back up into the first row of the grid, up in the P2, but it's still so far away from Wilson Hughes' time. Wilson Hughes, meanwhile, has gone just slower by about 8 thousandths of a second in the first sector. Riding on board with the McLaren driver here, looking to extend his advantage at the top. Riding on board of Duncan, who is coming towards the end of his first sector, slower in his first sector by about 0.09 of a second, so it's not looking too competitive for him so far. And again, a little bit slower for Wilson through the second sector. So, not looking like a big improvement, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, not looking like a big improvement at the moment, as we just bring up the telemetry right there. Wilson is going to try to finish his lap and set something a little bit quicker than he has so far. He's coming across the line. What's that time going to be? And he's going to not improve, and he finishes off qualifying, provisionally on pole position, but still quite a few drivers left to go. V. Fabi, meanwhile, has gone up the 3rd fastest. Midnight has dropped all the way down to 6th, and then valid lap for him. He is done in qualifying. CC Brain, very impressive in 5th position at the moment, having a very nice show of things. And let's see if he can go a little bit faster. No, he won't, because he invalidates at the end of the lap, just extending it a little bit too far. But if he had gone ahead with a lap, it would have been a little bit faster, about 0.1 of a second, and that would have actually put him even further up the grid order. So a very nice lap from him. Unfortunately, it was not valid, and CC Brain will settle for 5th position, and most of qualifying is over. And let's see where Duncan went. Duncan moving up to P11 in this race, but it's just outside the top 10. He can select any tire he wants now at this point. But that is it for qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. And it's Wilson Hughes, maybe no shock to anybody, fastest in the session. And he's going to take pole position here today in the social race.
Yeah, very interesting qualifying session there. Obviously, Duncan may be a little bit disappointed, but he has got that free tyre choice. He has used his mediums for 2 laps, but what a lap from Wilson Hughes. Already showing off, well, not showing off, but showing what he can do on the racing track. As well, Benjamin, after that spin, got himself back up to P2. Quite a few shocks, though. Martin up to 4th, and obviously Casper making the incident with Baba O'Reilly, and obviously had that incident as well. But great qualifying from everyone. and hopefully we have a fantastic race.
And there is your man in pole position. Wilson Hughes in the McLaren going fastest in the session. Going over the rest of the grid order, CRG Benjamin in second, V Fabi in third position, with Ecos Martin in fourth. CC Brain is rounding off the top five. CRG Midnight in sixth, followed by Xander in seventh. Nathan in eighth position. Lars Kramer in ninth. Karam in 10th position, and that's the top 10. Duncan in 11th. Tadler in 12th. Tim Wentink in 13th position. Killcry 35 in 14th. Bjorn in 15th position. Cherry to Pie in 16th. Pablo O'Reilly is in 17th. Casper in 18th without a time. So is World Rally and Trappy Formula. He did not get out of the session in a crash, but he had invalidations left and right in that qualifying session, and unfortunately he is without a time and will be starting at the back of the grid. Meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of qualifying. If you're joining us live right now, welcome to the PSGL YouTube channel. You're watching live coverage of the F121 social race here on the PlayStation division in the Red Bull Ring in the Styrian Hills of Austria. And we're just about to get ready for our formation lap. I'll go over the grid order one more time. And it's going to be a very exciting race. Just any predictions from you, Phoenix, before we get on with the proceedings of the formation?
It's a hard one because obviously they're all fantastic drivers in their own right. It's going to be an interesting one into turn one, I think, between Wilson and Benjamin. But it's also going to be interesting to see how quickly Duncan and Casper can get up that grid and maybe fight potentially Wilson and Benjamin. But got Midnight, they've got to get past Alexander. So we're in for an absolute fantastic. I think it's going to be wide open between at least 4 or 5 drivers to take that checkered flag and the race win as well when we come to the end of the Grand Prix.
So the one red light goes off and it's time for your formation lap, and let's go over the starting lineup for this social race on PSGL in the PS division. And it's Wilson Hughes, shock to nobody maybe, on pole position. CRG Benjamin is going to come on alongside him on the first row of the grid, with V Fabi just behind in the Ferrari. Ecos Martin, a very nice qualifying session for him in 4th position. CC Brain, maybe a bit of a surprise, actually up into 5th position in this particular session. Midnight in 6th, with Xander in 7th. MNT Nathan in 8th position. Did not qualify maybe where he would have liked to, did drop quite a few bit into 8th position. Lars Kramer in 9th position. Karam in 10th. There's your top 10. Now let's go over the rest of the tires details here, if we can actually get the detail of the tires that people are starting on. Duncan will be starting on the mediums. In fact, everybody except one is starting on the medium tire, with Duncan, Hadler, Wentick in 13th, Killcry in 14th, Bjorn in 15th, Cherry Tupai in 16th, Bob O'Reilly starting in 17th, Casper, who had the crash in qualifying, will be starting on the hard compound tire. Very interesting call right there. We'll see how it works out for him. 19th, World Rally and Trappy Formula starting in 20th. As for the top 10 drivers, 2 drivers, Karam and Xander, will be starting on the medium compound tire. The rest will be starting on the soft tires. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's 36 laps of the Austrian circuit here, 36 laps of this social race, and it's going to be as competitive as ever. And my name is Viasar Clark. You're joined with CES Phoenix, and we'll be calling this race for you in just a few moments' time as we're ready for those 5 red lights to come on and then off. And we'll get ready for the start of the Austrian Grand Prix, as Trappy Formula just coming into his grid salt right there as he stops the car right there. And now we're just getting ready. The engines are going to be revving. Thousands of horsepower sitting right there idling. And it's 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. It's time to bring the action. And it was a long 5 lights, but we're off, and Wilson Houston gets a good start just ahead of CRG Benjamin, and it's V Fabi alongside in the turn 1. CRG Benjamin still has the inside line, and he just edges across. There's an Alpine who's gone off track in the background. I think that might be Killcry, who had a problem. Meanwhile, Fabi back on the attack, coming in the turn 2 now, and he is just going to try to hang it around the outside. Can't quite do it. And now, under pressure, is V Fabi, who's having problems now getting the car get back on traction, and CC Brain may be looking to get ahead. No, he's just going to slot behind him for the moment, but meanwhile, Wilson Hughes has a fantastic getaway. 0.6 of a second already. Benjamin in second, third for Fabi, and it's fourth for CC Brain. A good start for him. Martin down to fifth. CRG Midnight is down in sixth position. Xander in seventh. Lars Kramer in eighth. Duncan has moved up a couple positions, starting in ninth. Karam is going to now in the top 10. TGG Hadler in 11th, and Tim Wentic in 12th position. And down the rest of the grid order, let's ride on board of Midnight here, because he's right on the back of Martin and maybe looking for an overtake already on this first lap. A fantastic run out of the final turn. There's a little bit of ghosting right there, but he's going to come alongside him, coming into turn one. No, slots behind him for the moment, and DRS apparently already enabled, but we've already finished the first lap here. But crazy starts here, and a lot of drivers getting ready to attack and just keeping close for the moment. And did we have a problem? Was it Martin? I'm not. The grid is going haywire. They still haven't fixed this issue. Bob O'Reilly having a little bit of a fight with Killcry at the back there, as Killcry had a very awful start off in the first turn, and he is now having to make up quite a bit of a recovery drive. And Benjamin, apparently he's back by a lap already, so this race is about over. There's your predicted pit stop strategy: soft, medium, soft, or soft, medium, medium. Predicted pit stop strategy presented by Amazon Web Services. Phoenix, as we're now just gonna get into the actual third lap of this race. So far, your thoughts on the opening couple of laps?
Well, it's definitely been an interesting couple of laps, as we see Wilson has absolutely supercharged and creating that gap from Benjamin. I think for this race, Benjamin needs to play the tactical game on the strategy. A few maybe minor incidents, as we saw Killcry drop down the order, the Alpine that had a little bit of Casper's got himself up to P15, Duncan has got himself up to P9 as well, but nonetheless there's been some action packed on the track, as well with Travi Formula getting himself up to P17 on the mediums. Nathan has slipped down the order on the soft compound tyre, but at the moment Wilson is on that supercharge and is leading the race from bench, and then we have the rest as well on their way as well.
I want to apologize, ladies and gentlemen. The leaderboard is acting a little haywire, and a few drivers are not showing up quite where they should be, or their split times are relatively not what they actually are. So it's a little difficult to follow with the drivers, but meanwhile, Wilson Hughes still very much in the lead of this race. Benjamin in second, Fabi in third, CC Brain in fourth, fifth for Midnight. We have a yellow flag, and I think that's one of the Alpines in the background right there who's having a problem. Meanwhile, Martin is trying to keep up into the DRS range. Now the lobby has updated, and TG Hadler has had a crash. And oh my goodness, his carcass of the Haas right there sitting in the middle of the track, and he's had a big accident. And is that going to bring out a safety car in this race? Karam has already picked up a penalty in this one. And I don't believe we're going to be getting a safety car, surprisingly enough, given how many cars got past and almost had a serious accident with that Haas car. But nothing so far from the stewards, the virtual stewards, and at the moment, we will remain green flag racing conditions. And Wilson Hughes leads CRG Benjamin by 1.2 seconds. A crucial track here to get out of DRS range, given that DRS is so very important for passing here in Austria. Meanwhile, CC Brain trying to size up an attack. So is Duncan. Duncan right on the back of Karam. Karam is having problems on his own set of medium tires, but he does get a little bit of a better run than Duncan. But now the DRS, you can see how much of an advantage it brings to him, as he's going to maybe go on the inside. No, he's a little bit too far back. Now, oh, here comes Karam off track, and this is going to allow Duncan to make a nice and easy pass on him coming up the hill through the DRS section. An easy pass for Duncan, and he puts himself up in the 7th position. Karam down to 8th, and he can continue on with this quest to move up the grid order. Meanwhile, Fabi is trying to close up on Benjamin. Benjamin is now without his DRS protection. It's not so much getting an overtake at this point, but now he can't even have the DRS to limit some of that slipstream and DRS and pass overtake from Fabi. But now he's all alone right there. 1.5 seconds now the gap. Now all he has to deal is of dirty air streaming off of Wilson Hughes' car. Fabi may be looking for an overtake in just a couple of moments' time. But nonetheless, we're going to just see here on the splits here, not too many people relatively super close for a pass right now. So we're just going to keep on board of Fabi, and it's about 0.6 of a second, and you can see he's just gaining and gaining and gaining in front of him. Benjamin struggling on his tires. Benjamin picks up a 3-second time penalty for worse for wear, and now here comes Fabi. Look at the slipstream. Is he going to make a move on the inside? He looks on the inside, a bit of a dive. Benjamin gives him the space, and now look at this. Midnight is going to try to fake it out right there. Fabi was a little bit too focused on the move on Benjamin, and Midnight almost capitalized and got himself into third position. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. I'm tongue-tying myself quite a bit here, and it's been a lot of action so far in this Grand Prix. But nonetheless, Wilson now almost a 2-second lead in this race.
Yeah, it's definitely been action-packed. We just see one of the Mercedes. It is, or no, that's both of. The Mercedes are out. No, it's one Mercedes and one Aston Martin, as we saw. The Mercedes driver lose it coming out of turn 1 and into turn 2, so not a good night for him. And we saw Lars retire in the pits after having a double spin on the track, which ended his night early. But Wilson is leading the pack with Benjamin, who has got the 3-second penalty in P2, so it's definitely interesting.
Oh, and a bit of a tap from Midnight there. He hits the back of Fabi's rear diffuser, and Midnight is looking to get past Fabi very quickly here. The Ferrari struggling on those soft compound tires, and here comes Midnight. He's going to try to hang it around the outside. Can he get ahead of the Ferrari driver? Still side by side. Oh my goodness. Voice cracks from me, but here comes Fabi, and Fabi is defending well, and Midnight cannot get past the Ferrari. Fabi staying in third position, but Midnight is trying to put the pressure on him, now moving to the outside lane, and oh my goodness. Big battles in this race so far. Midnight has picked up another time penalty, 3 seconds. Now that's 6 seconds onto his name already, and it's not been a very tidy race so far for the AlphaTauri driver. And let's now see if Midnight, who also has a penalty of his own, the two AlphaTauris not being too tidy on track, can he make a pass on Fabi? Meanwhile, Fabi is closing back in on Benjamin. Has Benjamin continuing to struggle? No DRS for him. There's no help whatsoever, and he's going around all over the track. Here comes Fabi, moving to the outside lane. Now Midnight is going to try to challenge as well, and Midnight is just going to stay behind, but Fabi puts himself up in the second position. It's been a long time coming maybe for Fabi, but he finally puts himself into second position in this race. Meanwhile, look at this. Midnight is going to try to challenge on the outside again, and look at this battle continuing lap after lap after lap. They're still side by side. Now coming on the inside is Midnight into the left-hander. Benjamin is out of the race. A big crash for CRG Benjamin, and he's out of this Austrian Grand Prix, and that's the carcass of the AlphaTauri sitting right there. Meanwhile, Midnight has gone ahead of Fabi and is up in the second position. Will we see a safety car deployed? No, not again. Despite a massive incident and a lot of drivers being around that incident, there is not even a virtual safety car in this race. We are still green flags, and CRG Midnight is now without a teammate, but at the very least, he is in second position.
Yeah, very unfortunate there for CRG Benjamin. I think he just caught a little bit of dirty air going into turn 4 with Midnight and Fabio. He did let his teammate go through. That's obviously why he dropped down the order, but Fabio's now got to think how he can get past back Midnight, as they are now coming through turn 4 into the double left-hander. But unfortunate night for Benjamin, but we've still got the rest of the race to go.
I'm ready on board of Martin here. He's sitting back by about 0.3 of a second from CC Brain, who's trying to keep up with Fabi, who is down in third position now. Midnight has made that amazing pass on Fabi and put himself up in the second position here. A really nice battle between the two. Duncan and now Fabi have picked up 3-second time penalties for their own selves. Wilson, meanwhile, he's just running away with this one. 1.9 seconds is the gap in this race. He's had virtually no struggles whatsoever. There's no penalties to his name whatsoever. Not that he has to worry too much, because Midnight and the rest of the drivers behind him have picked up quite a fair bit of penalties, but we've already lost we've already lost about 5 drivers in this race. Benjamin, Cherry Tupai, Karam, Lars, Kramer, and Hadler are all out of this session. And it's not been a great race for them, as a gamer is apparently watching in the spectator view. Hello, gamer. Bobby, meanwhile, is under pressure here, as we see CC Brain possibly making a challenge, and he's going to keep behind for the moment. Fabi is having trouble keeping up with Midnight. 0.7 of a second now, that gap. Fabi cannot afford to get out of DRS range from Midnight. He's going to have very hard problems keeping up that Williams behind him of CC Brain, who's having a fantastic race. Meanwhile, Xander looks to have made a pass on Bjorn, and Bjorn has had a spin, and he's kept it on track. Well, he hasn't kept it on track, but he's just retired on session, so he didn't have a crash, but he has retired on track. And, big crash. I think we've had another big one here, a big collision. This has to be a safety car. 2 cars have collided. This is Duncan and Martin. I'm going to ride on board. There is the carcass of those 2 cars. We've had a massive collision between Duncan and Martin. Still no safety car. Unbelievable. Is the safety car turned off at this point?
Well, it's definitely been a chaotic race, as the other Williams, which is World Rally, tried to avoid the incident, but spun himself, as we are under the yellow flag in Sector 3, but literally no more than 12 drivers remain, as we saw Midnight, I think, went in the pits under that yellow flag, so he maybe wanted to try and get in and out of the pits quick.
I want to apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I've been overreacting this whole time. I was not looking at my Discord, but the safety car is turned off. But anyway, Wilson Hughes almost into the pit lane, almost crashes in the pit lane as he went a little bit wide there. CC Brain as well, having a little bit of an excursion and has to stop the car quite a bit. And the pit stops are happening, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to get right back into the swing of things. But it was some good drama while it lasted. For anybody who didn't know the safety car was off, I gave you good entertainment. Nonetheless, Tim Wentic currently is leading the race on those medium tires. Remember, of course, medium tire runners have not stopped yet, and you can see here a lot of drivers actually opting for the hard tires, making this a one-stop race. And yes, that would be... I get it, guys. I know it's turned off. Hello. Come on. Calm down, boys. We get it. Anyway, most of the drivers have made their pit stops and have moved to the hard tires. They will be going on to a one-stop strategy. Not looking to stop again. We'll see how competitive those hard tires are, but right now Midnight is looking to finally have a little bit of a battle with Wilson. Most of this race he's been rather far behind the McLaren driver. We'll see if he can keep up with him, but it is about 0.5 of a second, and it's not necessarily getting any smaller. Meanwhile, Xander is looking to make a pass on Wentic. He's on the medium tires, about the same amount of laps as Wentic. So we'll see if he can get the move done. No DRS for Wentic. He's going to have to defend well here. Xander is coming ever so closer, and he's about to come to the outside. Look at this. Wentic does not even bother with a battle. He's just going to let Xander go by, and that deflated everything. I thought we were going to have a really cool battle there. Apparently not. Meanwhile, Wilson gets ahead of Trappy Formula, who is staying out of the way of these 2 behemoths of the sim racing community. Midnight and Wilson having a little bit of a scrabble right here. Midnight fastest in the first sector, so somebody is looking just a little bit faster, and that is the CRG driver of Midnight, who's looking to make a pass on Wilson. It would be very nice for him if he could get ahead of Wilson before the drivers who have not stopped yet haven't made their pit stop. So we'll see if he can do that. Meanwhile, Casper is on those 12-lap old hards, so he's going to go pretty long into this race, a little bit longer than those medium tire runners will. Xander and Wentic are still on the track, 13 laps on those medium tires.
Yeah, it's definitely, now the pit stops have happened for most of the drivers, it is going to probably calm down a little bit. We did have a little bit of a DRS train the last couple of laps, but it has died down. Most drivers are on the hard compound tyres, but have got penalties, so it's definitely going to be interesting.
I have to interrupt here. CC Brain is making a move on Fabi. He's up into 7th position, so CC Brain has made it on Fabi. Fabi has not had a good second stint so far. He's been passed now by the Williams driver. It's not looking too good for him in this second stint for him in this race on those hard compound tires. Back to you, Phoenix.
Yeah, as I was saying, obviously the drivers have now made the pit stops. Some still on the mediums, obviously, that haven't pitted, but there is still a few drivers there with the penalties that will be applied at the end of the race. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one as VSR Xander leads the race. Wilson has now got to try and get them overtakes done quickly. He's got Casper in front of him. Casper won't be an easy person to get past, I'm pretty sure, and it will provide another epic battle. As you've got, I think CC Brain on... Nope, that's a ghost car of an Alfa Romeo, but I shall hand it back to you to see what else is on the track.
Well, Trappy Formula is just getting out of the way of a couple drivers there. That was Fabi and CC Brain making the passes. Trappy Formula knowing full well his race is not over yet, but he is going to have to get out of the way just a little bit too slow on those used medium tires. Meanwhile, Wentic is keeping up with him about 0.4 of a second. They have yet to make their pit stops. Casper, he probably won't battle too hard with Wilson, given he is on a much older set of hars, and he is going to have much harder time keeping back the ever-rapid McLaren driver at this point. So I'm not too sure about whether or not we'll see that big of a battle, but nonetheless, we'll try to keep it maybe a little bit interesting. This is just a social race after all. We're here to have a little bit of fun. And Midnight is looking to have some fun with Wilson here. And don't take that the wrong way, chat. As we're coming up into turn one, we're going to see if he can make a pass on the McLaren here. We'll see as he is going to open up the DRS one more time. It's about 0.4 of a second. He's very much within range. And let's see if he can make the pass here. As here comes Midnight. He's going to come and look and no. He's going to stay behind for the moment.
Yeah, it's definitely going to put Wilson under pressure for the first time this race because he was leading it for the first stint. Obviously, Midnight will know what Wilson's all about as they've raced probably multiple times. So Midnight is just going to probably sit there and just tactically plan before he makes that attack on Wilson, if he can, before Wilson gets up the road to challenge Casper or the other top two as well. But
meanwhile, I want to mention we're still seeing Wentic and Xander here. 1-2 have not pitted in this race. Now 16 laps on those medium tires, and Casper, of course, without a pit stop as well. The gap 2.4 seconds from Wilson and Casper until we see those two collide. Meanwhile, Midnight again has another opportunity. It's about 0.4 of a second. Is he going to be able to close up for an overtake here as we come on to the outboard cameras here, as we get that little close up, and he's so close to the rear diffuser. He has one more opportunity on this DRS straight to see if he can make this pass on this lap 17 of this social race. We're coming towards just about the halfway mark here, ladies and gentlemen, but Wilson Hughes stays ahead for the moment. Midnight just does not have enough traction on those hard tires to get the pickup to possibly make an overtake. It is mainly a battle between 7th and 1st. 8th position back by about 10 seconds, and the rest are separated by multiple seconds of their own. Excuse me again, ladies and gentlemen. But nonetheless, Xander has still not yet made a stop. It's 17 laps on those medium tires, a quite long stint. And we're going to wait and see when they decide to make that first pit stop. But meanwhile, CRG Midnight, once again, right on the back of Wilson Hughes, this time much closer than on previous occasion, and he's going to move to the outside lane here. Will Wilson challenge him too much? No, he's just going to slot back behind him. He's being as smart as possible. He knows he does not want to wear out these hard tires too much, and is just going to move on of his race. Meanwhile, Midnight is taking what is essentially provisionally the lead of the race. It's 1.5 seconds back from Casper on those hard tires. We'll see if Xander and Wentic decide if they want to make their pit stop soon. That gap is getting relatively small. The advantage of starting on the medium tires is starting to wane a little bit. So we'll see if they decide to make the stops, and no, they have not yet done it. Wentic and Xander stay out.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see what Xander is doing. Obviously, Casper as well, he's really trying to bridge that gap, I think, before Midnight gets the gap down. He is on 17 lap hard. They will be probably ready for the pit stop soon, as my leaderboard has now decided to have an issue.
Yeah, we're just having a little bit of an update. Great game. 10 out of 10. We like it. Look at this, a little bit of now. Finally, it looks like Midnight is. Who is that? I don't know, guys. I don't know anything that's going on. The whole game just decided to break again. But nonetheless, Wilson back by 4/10, and now Midnight within a second of Casper. So a pass will be coming up very soon, I believe, for Midnight, and he can start to move up into what is provisionally first position in this race for him at the moment. Lap 19 of 36. You're watching live coverage of the PSGL social race here in Austria. Xander currently your leader in this race. The debris is still there. The stewards don't care, and somebody might get a puncture, but we will see nonetheless. And if you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss any notifications for when we go live on the channel. The season is starting soon, but we're just here for a little bit of fun today. A social race filled with some of the best talent on PS4. And again, again it updates again. This game, nonetheless, it's updating again. And I'm going to ride on board of Midnight because he has finally, I believe, gone ahead of Casper, who, well, has gone into the pit lane. That's how much I didn't know given the update of the leaderboard. Casper into the pit lane, finally putting on a set of medium tires. Coincidentally enough, Xander and Wentic have still not yet made pit stops, so rather peculiar of a strategy here. Still out longer than even the hard tire runner. If I ride on board here, I can't quite tell, but it looks like there's quite a bit of degradation on those medium tires, and I think they will finally, yes, react to the pit stop from Casper and go into the pit lane. So Wentic and Xander into the pits, and here comes Midnight coming around the final turn. He's going to take the lead of this Austrian Grand Prix, and now Wilson knows it's time to make an attack as he's got the DRS. He's coming through turn number 1, coming out of the exit of turn 1. He's quite far back at the moment. It's not going to be a pass on this occasion, but as the lap continues on, who is going to manage those hard tires the best? And if they do manage them best, they will be finding themselves in an opportunity for a battle. The question is, will it be Midnight or will it be Wilson?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting last laps as we come on to, which will be eventually lap 22 of 36. A few drivers have gone for the soft compound tyre, which is Xander and one of the Red Bull drivers remaining. Just a quick mention as well, Kilcry was lap 1. He was right at the back of the grid. He's got himself up into the top 10. He's obviously not going to probably get into the top 3 today, but he's had a fantastic little quiet race of his own. But he's got himself up into the top 10. The same as with Trappy Formula. Sitting in P8, he is on lap 20 mediums. He is going to have to pit. But another fantastic race so far for the Alfa Romeo driver.
And look at Wilson. He's quite closer on this occasion to the back of Midnight. Is he going to look for a move on the inside? He keeps it behind him for the moment, but Wilson has now closed his sights on Midnight. He's not going to wait for the tires to dissipate from Midnight's car. He is going to get right into attack mode, and he's looking on the inside, and now he's sizing up the AlphaTauri for a fight, and a fight we will sure get. Two of some of the best drivers on PS4 ready to duke it out here in the Styrian Hills of Austria, and we are on lap 22 of 36. CRG Midnight is your leader with Wilson Hughes in second. CC Brain currently occupying that podium position with V Vabi in fourth position by about 4/10 of a second. Wilson Hughes is closing in on Midnight. He's squeezing ever so closer to the back of that rear diffuser and is ready to make a pass. We're on to lap 23. It's about 5/10 of a second separating them. When they come into turn 1, that gap is going to close down under 3/10 of a second. And Midnight is having problems, again, getting the traction out of these corners. Here comes Wilson now. He's going to move to the outside lane, coming into the turn right here. Will Midnight be able to keep behind? No, keep ahead, I apologize. No, he won't. Wilson takes the lead of the Grand Prix. Can Midnight get a counter-offensive? No, he's already back by 5/10 of a second. He just cannot keep up with the McLaren. Wilson is rapid in this Austrian Grand Prix.
Yeah, definitely. It's heating up in PSGL tonight as we've got a fantastic battle in the last 13 laps between Wilson and Midnight. Who's your prediction for this one? Wilson or Midnight?
It's got to be Wilson. Wilson has continued to impress in this race. He led the race for almost every single lap by about 0.2 of a second towards the end of the first stint. He's made it past Midnight, and Midnight just has no answer for him. Already back by about 0.7 of a second almost through some of these corners, losing it a lot in the corners, gaining a little bit back on the straights, but he's just not able to get that same kind of traction. As you can see there, he really struggles. The rear end is complaining quite a lot on Midnight's car, and he just can't get the car pointed in the right direction when he puts the foot back on the gas. Wilson, in my opinion, in complete control of this race at the moment, and he'll be looking to take the victory here as we're coming towards about the final third of this 50% race here around Austria.
Yeah, it's coming down now to the end of it. Nearly every driver, except from Wilson, has got a penalty. It just shows he is an absolute incredible driver and a deserving champion that he is in PSGL. As you mentioned before, he's not going to defend it this season in PSGL as he's moving to a different platform, but he is outright shown tonight why he is a champion. But Midnight could still steal the win from him tonight, but it all comes down to them penalties at the end of the race.
There's few drivers in sim racing that you can call legends. Wilson would probably be considered one of those legends. The resume that the McLaren driver has in PSGL is almost unmatched in terms of just pure domination. Wilson Hughes is a force to be reckoned with, and we wish him the best as he moves on from PS4. But meanwhile, Midnight has actually had a quite good run on Wilson Hughes on this occasion, about 0.4 of a second separating the two drivers. Is he closing back in on it? It looked like Midnight just wasn't able to figure out Wilson Hughes and his driving. Now a little bit of some life coming back into the AlphaTauri seat right there. Is he going to be able to find a way past him and make this battle just a little bit more interesting? He does have to understand, of course, he does have penalties. The big question really is, if we look at the detail there, how many penalties drivers have? Midnight only has 3. Meanwhile, a few drivers of 15 seconds for Nathan, 9 seconds for Tunetank. He's going to drop down some positions, but Midnight could find himself in a situation if he can get past and then gain some advantage as these hard tires start to die and the grip starts to fall off. Who has the tire advantage? Maybe, just maybe, he can pick up that 3-second gap. But let's take off the detail right there, because we have another fight on our hands here in just a moment's time, I believe, as Midnight is getting very, very close to the back of Wilson Hughes. He just stays behind coming into turn number 4. Now back on the power, back with the DRS. He has another opportunity coming towards this downhill right-hander, but I think he just didn't quite get the exit coming out of the corner, and Wilson is going to stay ahead for the moment.
Yeah, it's definitely getting interesting. Also, there's, I think, gaps closing for the soft runners. I think they're possibly going to have a fight at the end between Tunetank and Xander, but I think the top 2 are out of reach for Fabio or CC Brain. As the Sector 1 yellow flag, that's an Alpine, which I believe may be Killcry. As Casper gets a 3-second time penalty, is Midnight going to get any closer as they come now into Sector 1 and Sector 2? He's going to get the DRS. It's going to be under yellow flag, so they can't make an overtake as they now come up into turn 3. Is Midnight going to close the gap even more? He's right on the back of Wilson. He's going to get that DRS as they go down now into turn 4. And it looks like Midnight, he's not going to use the ERS as much, but he's going to use the DRS. He's not going to get the move done into turn 4, but he is closing that gap up. But he's not got many laps left in the race as he is on the hunt for that P1 from Wilson in the McLaren.
It just seems like Wilson out of turn 4 is getting much better traction out of the corner. Midnight is really picking up the pace coming into turns into turns 1 and 2, really getting very close. Then turn 4 comes, and it just seems as if Midnight just can't quite get the traction out of the uphill section before going downhill, and he just loses too much time. He's going to come close again coming in the turn 1 right here. It's 0.2 of a second. Can he get a good exit coming out of the turn here? Can he finally make a pass again? Wilson gets a bad exit out of the corner. Here comes Midnight again. They're going to go side by side up the hill, and now Midnight retakes the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix from Wilson. But can Wilson get a counteroffensive? Just look at the difference in traction. It looks like Wilson got a little bit of a better exit on this occasion, and he might be able to get close. No, he's going to stay behind for the moment. But just the difference there, as Midnight made the pass on Wilson. Wilson much better out of the exit. Remember when Wilson made the pass on Midnight the last time? He was back by almost 0.5 of a second after the pass. This time, Wilson's staying much closer, and now he can make a counteroffensive much quicker than Midnight was originally able to. But nonetheless, Wilson is back in second position, but he does not have any penalties. Midnight still with a 3-second time penalty. Not too sure how many warnings Wilson has, but without at the moment right now, as it stands, Wilson will take the win of this Grand Prix as we're now on lap 29, riding on board of the McLaren of Hughes as he comes out of the exit of turn 1, about 0.5 of a second. Seems to be a little bit too far back, and actually Midnight gets a very nice exit, and he keeps the gap relatively close as they come into turn 4. It's going to be down by about 0.3 of a second. Now the traction coming out of the turn 4. Let's see who's getting the advantage here, and it looks like Wilson just keeping up the advantage. You can see there the gap actually closes quite a bit more than we expected normally, and Wilson at the moment is having an advantage on traction from Midnight. But Midnight stays ahead for the moment. We're on lap 29 of 36. We're into the closing stages of this Grand Prix, and it's a fight for P1 here between Midnight and Wilson. What a better way in the social race between these two giants in PSGL.
Yeah, as Nathan has DNF, so 10 drivers remain. So if it was an official league race for PSGL, everybody would get points, as there is only 10 finishes. As there's a yellow flag, that is Wilson's teammate out of the race, so he's the only McLaren left, as Wilson is closing the gap up a little bit, as CC Bryan has also retired from the race. We are now left with 9 drivers left, so the Austrian track causing an absolute nightmare for the drivers tonight in the PSGL PS4 social race, as we are under sector 1 yellow flags, so it's all still to play for in the remaining laps.
I just want to thank everybody. There's 72 people watching the live stream right now. Thank you so much for the support as we're into the closing stages of this race. Wilson Hughes is trying to catch up with CRG Midnight and make a pass in these final couple of laps. But thank you so much for all the support and likes and comments you have in the section there. And here comes Wilson Hughes back in the DRS. It's about 0.5 of a second behind Midnight as he comes in the turn 1. Looks like Midnight maybe finally catching a bit of an advantage over Wilson. But here comes Midnight, getting very close. DRS activated. He's coming so close, about 0.3 of a second, down to about 0.2 of a second as they come into the braking zone. But Midnight just stays ahead. Who gets better traction? It looks like Midnight got a fantastic exit, actually, and will probably stay ahead of Wilson for the moment. While Xander has gone ahead of Fabi. This is the battle for third position in this race, as CC Brain, out of the race, was having an absolutely amazing session in third position for most of it. Unfortunately, a mistake from him has caused an accident, and he is out of the Austrian Grand Prix social race here.
Yeah, fantastic move there by VSR Xander for third. Will he keep it at the end of the race because he has got penalties? So has Fabio, but Fabio is on 19 lap hards as we come now into the last 5 races. We've got an epic battle at the front as well between CRG Midnight and Wilson. I think it's going to go down to the wire. It's going to be the two drivers going to battle it out on the Austrian track. Will Wilson finally get a penalty? Who knows? It's all going to go down.
If Wilson does get a penalty, we may see a more determined Wilson, because at the moment he knows full well he's winning this race. It doesn't matter if Midnight stays ahead of him. Penalty situation in mind, he is going to win this Grand Prix. Maybe Wilson being a little bit more relaxed, not taking any risks on the AlphaTauri driver. But if he does pick up a penalty in these last couple of laps, Will we see Wilson put on the steam and get ready to make an attack on Midnight? And will we see a little bit of a harder battle than we've seen in the past? Strappy Formula picks up a time penalty. He's sitting in 7th position. I don't think he may have expected to finish in the points at the time when we started this race, but a lot of drivers have not finished this one. It's been quite a crazy race, and we only have 9 drivers left in this race. Everyone's going to be able to score points in this one, but it's not about points. It's just about having some fun. And here comes Wilson, and he may have some fun at Midnight. He's back by about 0.3 of a second. Midnight, he's going to get so very close. Will he make a dive? And no, actually, Midnight keeps ahead for the moment. He got a pretty nice end of the run at the end of the DRS straight. And here comes Wilson. A very nice exit out of turn 4. Is he going to be able to close up enough? No, I just don't think he has enough speed coming into the corner here. No, he stays behind for the moment. Midnight, it's lap 33 of 36. We're about to start the final 3 laps of this Austrian Grand Prix, and Midnight is your leader ahead of Wilson. Wilson is the de facto leader, though, as after the race, penalties would give Wilson the win. But does Wilson pick up a penalty at the end of this race, or has he been tidy all race? He may not even have warnings. We'll have to wait and see. But nonetheless, we're coming on to lap 34 of 36, and let's see, does Wilson put up the pressure just a little bit? They're coming into turn 1. What's that gap going to be when they come into turn 1? About 0.3 of a second. Let's see the exit from Wilson. Looks to be a pretty decent exit, though, but Midnight gets a little bit of better traction, and he's going to gain a little bit of time. But here comes Wilson. He's getting very close. He looks to the inside. He stays behind for the moment. Had a bit of an inside look, a bit of a tease. But at the moment, he's going to stay behind. But a great exit for Wilson coming out of turn 4. This might be the opportunity he's looking for. He's going to move to the outside lane, and coming around the outside, it's Midnight and Wilson side by side. Wilson getting the better exit. He's going to get ahead and take the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix. An amazing move by Wilson, and Midnight down to second. Wilson Hughes has taken the lead again.
Wow, what an incredible overtake by Wilson into turn 4. As we know in the real life F1, that has caused so many heartbreaks for so many drivers. But Wilson on the night.
Fabi's had a bit of a spin. Meanwhile, I want to mention he's down to 6th. And he's had some problems as he was running pretty well in this race. Back to you.
Yeah, as I was saying, Wilson absolutely sent that as anyone would have done into turn 4. Got the better traction coming out of the corner. Midnight, I think, knew the fight was over when Wilson
here
went
we
for
go,
that
though.
move.
Well, Midnight's getting very close. He's going to make a move on the inside. He's so close to the back of Wilson Hughes. Are we going to see a little bit of a last lap scrap? We may see it. These drivers are so close to each other. They've been neck and neck since the second stint of this race. They're on each about 23 lap old hards for Midnight, 22 lap old hards for Wilson. It's so close. Will we see Midnight make a last lap pass? Bob O'Reilly, that's the man they just passed. I don't think Luke Etheridge was expecting to score any points in this race, but he has survived, and that's what's important, and he's going to find himself within that race. But here we go. Last lap of this social race. Midnight has just 2 opportunities left to make a pass. Here comes the first one. It's not been a great exit, though, as he goes a little wide. Wilson doesn't get a great exit either, though. Here comes Midnight. Is he going to move for the inside? He is going to dive on the inside, and a move by Midnight, and he gets the move on Wilson. Wilson now will have a counter-offensive right back on the rear diffuser at Midnight. Midnight moves to the inside lane, back to the outside lane, and Midnight is going to keep Wilson behind in a very crucial overtaking opportunity. Midnight has taken the lead of the race. It's all for what, though? Penalties aside, I think Wilson will be taking this one unless a disastrous penalty comes in the past couple of seconds. Meanwhile, Bob O'Reilly is maybe messing up Wilson a little bit here as he just passes him right there, but a fantastic move from Midnight. On track, Midnight can say, I was faster, and he's going to come around the final turn here, and Midnight is going to win the Grand Prix, but Wilson will win it on penalties. What a fantastic race. Wilson, your winner. CRG Midnight in second. VSR Xander is going to pick up the podium, and Casper will finish fourth. Wentic in fifth. Fabi in sixth. Seventh for Trappy Formula. M&T Killcry in eighth, and Bob O'Reilly in ninth position. And I have to just catch my breath there, because that was absolute scenes from Midnight. What a move on the final lap to just pick up that on-track victory. But after the race, obviously, of penalties, Wilson, your winner. The best driver in terms of keeping it on track. With all the consistency, he won the Grand Prix, and Wilson Hughes is another winner again. And Casper has picked up driver of the day, and you might expect that. He survived not only, and he was in the points.
Yeah, wow, what a fantastic last lap, as we saw two absolute fantastic drivers at the top of their game between Midnight and Wilson. Unfortunately, obviously, due to the penalties, Midnight did drop down to P2, but still had a fantastic race and managed to keep it up with Wilson, but it all ended there with Wilson taking the race win, as we've seen so many times in PSGL.
What a fantastic race, ladies and gentlemen. Could you expect anything less from a bunch of talented drivers like that? There's your winner. He was the man on pole position. It's Wilson Hughes who picks up the win. CRG Midnight is going to finish in second. Xander in third. And fourth for Casper. Fifth for Tim Wentic. Fabi in sixth. Seventh for Trappy Formula. Eighth for Killcry. Ninth for Bob O'Reilly and CC Brain. Nathan, World Rally, Martin, Duncan, Bajorn, Benjamin, Cherry Pie, Karam, Lars Kramer, and Hador do not finish the Grand Prix. That was quite a few names, not to say finishing. Only 9 drivers finished this social race. They had fun, and that's what matters. But a really nice battle between Wilson Hughes and Midnight.
Yeah, it's been an absolute fantastic night of racing, and for Wilson not to even get one penalty on a heavy track limit track in Austria, then you've got to stand up and give him a round of applause for that, because as we know on this game, the track limits are quite heavy for Austria, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't a bad night with only 9 drivers. They still provided some fantastic racing, and hopefully it gives them a bit of fun, and we will kick off the PSGL season hopefully soon with some more action-packed racing in PSGL.
And if you've joined us live, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for all of the support. 37 likes on the stream. We had a peak viewership of 72 people. Awesome, awesome job from everybody. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for the little roast. I'm sorry, I was not looking at the Discord, but I gave some drama, which is what matters. So anybody who was not aware and not in the Discord, they had entertainment. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, my name is VSR Clark. I was joined by CES Phoenix in the commentators booth, and again, thank you so much. This was the PSGL social race from Austria, and we're signing off once more, and have yourselves a wonderful night.